welcome to SVG-TV News for Tuesday, January 19th, 2016. I'm Laffer Fraser with the details. Outlining that the law specifies the extent to which one can enjoy their rights, former Attorney General, Queen's Counsel Parnell Campbell is advising persons to be cognizant of how they infringe on the rights of others in the process. On his Law and Use SVG television program, volume 815, entitled The Freedom of Assembly and Association, Campbell made reference to the Noise Act, where he says while one has the right to enjoy music, if that right impinges on the rights of another, the law should step in.
When we talk about rights, you can't talk about your rights to the exclusion of the rights of other persons. We all have rights. But in order for all of us to enjoy our rights, we have to subject ourselves to certain restraint. And in some cases, the law doesn't leave it up to us. The law specifies the extent to which you can go to enjoy your rights when they begin to infringe on the rights of others. So, to say people have a right to protest, fine. But if that protest unjustifiably interferes with the rights of somebody else, then the law will say, no, you need to strike a balance. You can't have it all your way.
Campbell highlighted that the program on Monday, January 18, 2016, was dedicated to the Supervisor of Elections, Sylvia Findlay, whose rights, he says, have been encroached upon.
And the reason I've dedicated this program to Mrs. Findlay Scrub, the Supervisor of Elections, is that I'm convinced that the lady is subject to a violation of her rights for every day that a protest takes place outside her office that involves the making of noise, the chanting of insults to her. Now, if persons go in from the office to protest peacefully, that is a different story. So, the law draws a distinction between peaceful protest and rowdy protest, if that rowdy protest interferes with the rights of other persons. Now, good heavens, how can Mrs. Findlay and her staff be expected to function in the light of drumming right outside your office, morning and noon? I wouldn't say night, because if drumming goes on at night, at least the office is closed. This is where the criminal code comes in.
Reading from Section 67 of the Criminal Code Act under the heading Unlawful Assembly, Campbell says he would not touch on the Public Order Act as there was a particular matter before the court involving the protest action in front of the electoral office. He, however, pointed out how persons can be in breach of the peace and cause fear to another through their ability to gather freely under the Freedom of Assembly Act.
When 3 or more persons assemble with intent to commit an offense, or being assembled with intent to carry out some common purpose, conduct themselves in such a manner as to cause persons in the neighborhood reasonably to fear that the persons so assembled will commit a breach of the peace, or will by such assembly needlessly and without reasonable occasion provoke other persons to commit a breach of the peace, they are guilty of an unlawful assembly. It is immaterial that the original assembling was lawful if, being assembled, they conduct themselves with a common purpose in such manner as aforesaid.
The traffic-related case against political activist Luzette King has been adjourned to February 12th this year to be heard before Senior Magistrate Carla James at the Kingstown Magistrate Court. When the matter came up for trial this morning at the court, the senior magistrate told the prosecutor, Station Sergeant Eglin Richards, that defense counsel Kay Bacchus Brown, who is representing King, had communicated to her requesting an adjournment, stating that she was currently involved in a trial at the High Court Criminal Assizes. King has been charged for causing inconvenience to the public in the exercise of common rights, to wit, by standing in the public road, in the public road, thus hindering the free flow of traffic in the vicinity of Electoral Office on Wednesday, January 6, 2016. Speaking on behalf of her client, Benjamin Ben Exeter, who has been indicted with a new charge, carrying an offensive weapon without lawful authority under the Public Order Act, lawyer Kay Bacchus Brown held a media conference with the law fraternity colleague Israel Bruce today at her office. Bacchus Brown outlined the police claims which were brought last week against the New Democratic Party candidate for Central Leeward, who during a protest on December 29th was arrested and charged with assaulting Granville de Freitas of Chester Cottage, causing actual bodily harm, assaulting a police officer, and resisting arrest. He pled not guilty in court on December 30th and is due back in court on January 25th. Bacchus Brown further expands on the last charge brought against her client.
Mr. Ben Exeter was called in by the police last week, I think it was, and he was slapped with a new charge, charging him under the Public Order Act, under Section 14 of the Act, which says that any person who, while present at any public meeting or on the occasion of any public possession, has with him any offensive weapon otherwise than in persons of lawful authority, is guilty of an offense. So, since then, I've been met with many telephone calls and persons in the road, persons who have firearms, who are suddenly wondering if it is an offense to appear at a public meeting with a firearm. As a result of that, on Saturday I was on with Luzette King on her program, and I took the pains to explain what I thought was the interpretation of the law. And because I've been getting all these calls, I thought that I should also explain today.
Bacchus Brown describes the charge as ludicrous, as the Public Order Act does not pertain to someone who has a lawful firearm.
Subject to the proviso of Section 29(2), a person shall not carry a firearm or ammunition in any public place unless he has on his person a license, permit, or certificate granted by the appropriate authority authorizing him to do so. When you get your firearm, and I am also the holder of a firearm for many years, so I know what I'm speaking about, you are even told by the police that you should keep your firearm with you at all times because it is for your protection. It would be ludicrous to give you a firearm and on the other hand say that if you ever went to a public meeting, then with this firearm that you could be you are committing an offense. So I refer, as I said, to Section 16(1), which gives you the authority to take your firearm in any public place, and this is the law that governs firearms, not the Public Order Act.
The lawyer pointed out that Exeter was not at a public meeting, since public meetings require persons to write for permission to hold an event, and when her client was arrested, he was at a protest.
The Public Order Act was passed to do with, if you look at what the Act says, it is an act to prohibit the wearing of uniforms in connection with political objects and the maintenance of private persons, of associations of military or similar character, to make further provision for the preservation of public order or the occasion of public possessions and meetings in any public places. So obviously many persons would be wondering why all of a sudden it has become an offense to have a firearm in a public place at a public meeting. First of all, I do not consider that a demonstration falls under the definition of a public place or public meeting under the Public Order Act. The Public Order Act is dealing with meetings where you have to call the Commissioner of Police or write the Commissioner of Police and get permission to hold a meeting. So even if it is deemed to be a public meeting, I still hold that what was going on when Ben Exeter had his gun was really a demonstration, which he has a right to do under the Constitution. The Constitution is the highest law of the land, and it takes precedence over the Public Order Act.
Expressing concern about the recent economic emergency decree in Venezuela, opposition leader Arnim Eustace is of the view that SVG will be affected by what is happening in the Spanish-speaking country. Speaking on radio on Monday, Eustace, who is also an economist, says that with Venezuela's 141.5% inflation rate, the country is now forced to cut back significantly on its excesses.
Only that year, last year, and you could buy something for $1. $100, now you pay $241 for it at the end of the year. This is a time when your salaries are not going up, one thing. At the time when government not getting enough revenue, that is why they are in crisis. So that is the state of affairs in Venezuela. And you know, all this is happening. All that is happening when the economic growth in Venezuela for 2015 was minus 7.1%. We call here when we had negative growth of 0.1%. They have negative growth of 7.1% for 2015. So they're really, really in deep trouble. There are pictures in the document where you see the supermarket shelves basically empty. Things are not available to buy, even if they have the money.
Eustace says one of the ways he believes Venezuela will be cutting back is through the Petro-Carib oil and financial initiative, of which this country has received benefits.
I blame them for that. That is in line with their economic reality. But we will pay our own price for that too. And already I've expressed my concern about how that loan from Petro-Carib is being treated, and now it's gotten even worse. Venezuela cannot afford to be as generous as it had been in the past. They are fighting for their own economic survival. And to the extent that they're being generous, in reality, there's no choice they have. They have to cut back certain things. And that's why the Congress has already mentioned Petro-Carib as one of those things that they're cutting back. They ain't going to be giving out favors to neighbors when their house is on fire.
St. Vincent and the Grenadines has begun to position itself to benefit from the signs of the global economic recovery, which has begun to show in the tourism market regionally. Speaking at a media briefing today, Minister of Tourism Cecil Mackey says that the economic downturn had affected tourism-based islands such as St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but there has been some positive signs of recovery seen in arrivals by both air and sea, with an estimated 289 cruise ship calls for the 2015-2016 season. Mackey added that with the coming on stream of the Argyle International Airport, his ministry expects an increase in arrivals to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and that they're giving special attention to tourism sites which continue to attract attention from visitors.
4 years or so, we have paid particular attention to the development of our tourism sites, and we have actually been able to capture data from about 12 of those sites which are managed, and that data would allow us to do interventions, upgrades, and that has been very important information for us, because over these 12 sites we see about just over 120,000 visitors to these 12 sites per year. So this is very important information for us. And of course, contributions at these sites would have allowed us to do further upgrades to enhance these facilities. So that is going to be very important for us for this period going forward.
Also addressing the media conference was Chief Executive Officer of the SVG Tourism Authority, Glenn Beach, who called for an overall lifting of standards in the tourism sector. Beach notes that there are rules and regulations governing the sector and encouraged operators and all other stakeholders to register with the authority, as this is a crucial aspect in maintaining high standards in tourism.
we have to understand that there has to be standards. You have certain types of accommodation where, you know, I wouldn't send any family member to, and we have to come to this understanding that we have to have minimum standards. You know, and there are only certain places that the Tourism Authority will recommend to people. And one of the things is simply this, that you have to register, we have to come and look at your properties, we have to make sure you meet the minimum, and the minimum standards are not difficult. You know, it's running hot water in your kitchen, making sure your towels don't have holes in them. When you're preparing food, that you wear hair nets, that if you have a swimming pool, that, you know, you have the handrails to enter the swimming pool for safety. These are the simple things, so people need to understand these sort of things.
Beach also states that while the Ministry of Tourism, the Tourism Authority, and the National Parks Authority continue to do their part to market SVG as the ultimate tourism destination, every Vincentian has a role to play in ensuring the success of the sector.
You know, people talk about tourism. Tourism isn't only about everybody you see at the head table here and pushing it. Tourism is about every individual in St. Vincent and the Grenadines making sure that we push the country and we make sure it's seen in as a positive light as we possibly can, and we continue to do this. But we can only market so much. It makes no sense for us to market St. Vincent and the Grenadines. People visit and then they don't have a good time here, because guess what? It's the Tourism Authority, the Ministry of Tourism. Everybody can only do so much. National parks can only do so much in terms of the sites. We have to be welcoming.
With hopes of becoming a better corporate citizen, Chief Executive Officer of the St. Vincent Electricity Services Limited, or VINLEC, Thornley Myers, says the company will strive in 2016 to create, among many other initiatives, greater interaction with customers. At a press briefing earlier today at their headquarters in Pauls Avenue, Kingstown, Myers presented an overview of the company's operation in 2015 and its plans for going forward in 2016. Noting the damage from the 2013 December floods, Myers said that the company's rehabilitation process of hydroelectricity plants, which was already initiated before the floods, will continue during this year, with the Richmond and Cumberland plants operational and the South Rivers plant expected to be fully rehabilitated in the last quarter of this year. He noted that there were also new methods of infrastructure used as the company prepares for climatic changes and any other unexpected disasters.
In the floods of December 2013, most, if not all, of the wood stave pipeline, and it's a pipeline constructed of wood, was essentially washed away or destroyed. And that line was a surface mounted line. What we have done now, we have essentially used a new type of material, completely new to St. Vincent, referred to as GRP. Glass reinforced plastic. It looks, for the untrained eye, it looks like PVC pipe. Simply, that's what it looks like. And that pipe is now buried. So it's no longer surface mounted pipeline taking water to the hydro plant. That is in the section where we had wood. It is now a for all intents and purposes, let's call it a fiberglass pipe. It's buried. One of the significant advantages that we hope to gain from this, now that the line is buried, we're hoping that if there are future flood events, that it is buried at a depth sufficiently deep that it would not be easily washed away.
With a recent steady decline in the price of fuel, Myers noted that while the fuel price is low at the moment, there will come a time when it increases. With this reality, he says the company's investment in renewable energy has to continue. He also took the opportunity to highlight VINLEC's plans as it relates to their focus on geothermal energy.
Currently carrying out a study with the assistance of the Clinton Foundation, the Carbon War Room and the Rocky Mountain Institute to look at the integration of geothermal into our network. This is important for us because geothermal energy is new to us. The operation will be new to us, and we have to study how would this be integrated in our network such that we have stability and reliability of power. VINLEC is expected to take the cost of the transmission line from where the geothermal plant will be constructed to our existing network. In other words, the developers will be responsible for the development of the plant itself, and our responsibility will be construction of the transmission line. The construction of that transmission line is expected to cost us in excess of 35 million EC dollars.
Commenting on the overall consumption of energy in SVG, Myers noted the decrease of the fuel surcharge, which now stands at 20.71 cents compared to 45.49 cents this same time last year. He further notes that while there was an increase of just over 2% in electricity usage in 2015, Vincentians must continue to use and conserve energy wisely.
We believe that this trend will continue. In other words, people will continue to seek ways and means of conserving energy. Despite the fact that prices are down, we believe that one of the reasons why we saw increased sales in 2015 was as a result of the significant lower fuel surcharge. I think part of what we want to say to our customers, don't get too comfortable. Don't begin to use more electricity simply because fuel prices and fuel surcharge rates are going down. Continue to conserve energy, continue to seek for those energy efficient devices that can help you to save on your electricity bills.
A signing ceremony today signaled the commencement of a significant relationship between the governments of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and Japan. The Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment also received a donation in the form of medical supplies from the Japan Grant Association for Grassroots Humanity Security Project. Speaking at the ceremony at the Ministry of Health Conference Room, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment, Louis Deschamps, said that he is delighted at what is to come from the partnership and thanked the government of Japan on behalf of his ministry and the government of SVG for their generous donation to the development of this country's healthcare sector.
I assure you, Mr. Masatoshi, that the professionals within the national health sector and by extension the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines will treasure the items to be procured as we continue to make huge efforts to navigate the turbulent waters of the current global economic climate to provide a high quality of health care. The medical equipment, sir, will be used by our team of health professionals at the Milton Cater Memorial Hospital as they continue to deliver health care to our citizens who access the public health care system. The range of equipment comes at a very opportune time in the development of our services, and it is indeed a demonstration of our determination to improve our daily services to all Vincentians.
Minister Counselor at the Embassy of Japan in Port of Spain, Trinidad, Masatoshi Soto, says he is pleased to represent his government for such a momentous occasion, the procurement of medical equipment in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Councillor Sato said that it is his hope that the donation will go a long way.
The Milton Cater Memorial Hospital will receive funding under the Japan Grant Assistance for Grassroots Human Security Projects, valued at $19,792 US. This grant will support the activities of the Milton Cater Memorial Hospital to improve the quality of the medical services at their blood bank, pharmacy, operating theater, and urology unit. The medical equipment to be procured all serve different functions as they relate to patient care services. However, they all satisfy the common purpose of improving the hospital's capacity to provide more efficient medical service in addition to enhancing the delivery of the existing emergency and healthcare services to patients. We trust that all equipment will be maintained properly and managed effectively so as to ensure reliable service to the public.
In more local news, several students from secondary schools across the country were joined by some of their colleagues in the region for a Youth Learn, Empower, Achieve and Develop or LEAD conference held here today. The conference, designed by the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, or the ECCB, enabled the youngsters to gain knowledge about entrepreneurship, among other business ethics. Presentations were made by Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Education, Youth, Sports and Culture of St. Kitts and Nevis, Sean Richards, who stated that it is necessary to build the capacity of the youth so that they can emerge as influential voices.
Facilitate these ideas, there is need for the creation and promotion of opportunities. Dreams die when capital is denied, that could take it from being an idea to an engine of growth. Ideas languish and society remains stunted where opportunities have been absent. It is incumbent upon us as policymakers and directors to facilitate the development of innovation into emerging industries. That is why my ministry continues to operate within a framework which implements key fiscal policies that grants concession to small and micro businesses and ongoing incentives to startups in key sectors.
Grenada's Senator Winston Garraway, Minister of State within the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Religious Affairs, also reinforced the need to give youngsters the opportunity to develop their entrepreneurial skills.
You have to learn yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, your goals, your purpose in life. You have to learn how to use your strengths to overcome your weaknesses, to achieve your goals and fulfill your life's purpose. You have to learn how to step out of the proverbial box and think like you have never thought before, act like you have never acted before, so you can achieve like you have never achieved before. After you've learned, you begin to feel empowered, empowered to dream, empowered to set high goals, empowered to reach for those dreams, empowered to reach for those high goals, empowered to help someone else to dream.
And Vincentian designer Kimya Glasgow, who is the Chief Executive Officer of her fashion design company, advised the students to embrace the creative arts as a profession. Glasgow made it known that she is not selling a fairy tale. However, there is no safe way to reach to greatness, as there are always risks involved. She expressed disappointment that often when females lead in schools, in the job market, etc., they fall behind, and that youths must be encouraged not just to get a job, but to be and make a business.
Yet we are busy telling women that they're too aggressive, and that is an issue. I want every little girl who someone says they're bossy to be told instead, you have leadership skills. As we grow up, people will inevitably ask you all, what do you want to be when you grow up? Your talents are fostered, but then when you become an adult, you're guided to take the safe way out. Find a job, not make a business. Luckily for me, growing up in Trinidad and attending schools that foster both academic and creative pursuits, and also having an aunt herself who became a fine artist and a goldsmith, I had role models. It is my firm belief that people with creative abilities have the ability to lead as entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are people who know how to harness opportunities for economic gain for themselves and for others. I often ask myself why, especially in the Caribbean, we have such a hard time accepting that someone with a gift for painting, music, design, and such can turn it into a successful business.
The businesswoman warned that there would be setbacks in becoming entrepreneurs, but she encouraged the youngsters to take their lead to a greater destiny for themselves, the country, and the region.
And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our fear, our presence automatically liberates others. I'm very excited also with the inclusion of young Mr. Warren Cassell, who will be presenting later this afternoon. In my research for this presentation, I was so impressed with this young man that before the age of 16, he had at least 3 businesses, not pretend businesses, actual businesses up and running. So guess what? The time is now. And even if you take that safe job option to begin with. Never give up on your dream. The next generation of entrepreneurs will shape the Caribbean and its economy. What role are you going to play? Yes, our youth can lead, but we need to jump out of our safety zone. Are you ready to jump out of yours? Are you ready to lead?
The Civil Asset Recovery Division of the Financial Intelligence Unit, or the FIU, will be launched here later this week. This is a partnership between the FIU and the Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs, or the INL. The launching ceremony will take place at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs Conference Room on Friday, January 22nd, 2016 at 9 a.m. Section 61 of the Proceeds of Crime Act, number 38 of 2013, enables the Civil Recovery Authority to recover in civil proceedings property which is obtained through unlawful conduct or property that has been used in unlawful conduct. The Civil Recovery Authority, as stipulated by the said Act, is the Attorney General. The FIU has conduct of these matters on behalf of the Attorney General. The penetration of the financial system by criminal masterminds and terrorist groups through the use of money laundering practices are global threats that continue to negatively affect this country. This division will integrally contribute to the execution of the FIU's mandate of taking the profit out of crime, thus decreasing SVG's vulnerability to the threats posed by money laundering and its predicate offenses and terrorism. Stating his delight at the amount of police officers who have taken it upon themselves to further their education while in the police force, Prime Minister Dr. Alphonse congratulated all officers for their efforts and urged others to do the same. Speaking at the annual Police Award ceremony on Saturday night, the Prime Minister noted that the opportunity is within reach and that every member of the force is able to gain subjects, whether it be at the secondary or tertiary levels.
I know that more and more men and women in the police force are studying, and I'm really happy to hear that my friend and brother Brendan Smith has completed his master's degree, and congratulations. I'm very, very proud of you. There was a time when persons entered the police force without any CXCs. But getting your CXCs while you're inside of the police force is a piece of cake. It's no big thing. You can do it. All you need to do is to have a little discipline and organize yourself properly. And once you have that base education, you can then go on to do your associate degree, you can go on to do your degree in whatever area you want to.
Urging the gathering to take the necessary actions and become interested in training enhancement courses. Dr. Gonsalves said that this will not only make the individual a better officer, but a better person, and also enable them to have a productive life after retirement.
Don't wait on the courses which come along. I want to say this. I know many persons in the police force will. Sometimes I hear people say that, I don't know why Ralph don't send me on this course or that course, some policing course. To tell you the truth, I have nothing to do with it other than signing so that the money can be released. I have never ever in my 15 years as Minister of Finance, Prime Minister, refused to approve any of these sent over to me by the Commissioner of Police, transmitted to the Permanent Secretary.
Challenging the members of the RSVG police force to deliver a professional policing experience, Chairman of the Police Welfare Association, Inspector Trevor Bailey, said that while they have been faced with many challenges, members of the organization have an obligation to serve the Vincentian Society to the best of their abilities. In his remarks at the annual Police Award ceremony held at the police canteen last Saturday, Bailey said that the police should always work in the interest of the people.
Simply cannot do it on our own. As the chairman of the Police Welfare Association, I call upon all my members to demonstrate a high level of professionalism at all times. Be diligent in the investigation. Consult with the office of the DPP when in doubt, before making the arrest. Let us never be hurried. Always keep your eyes on the end product, which is the court. In the court, you will never be given a second chance to make a false impression. If there's no evidence, there's no case. I urge members to be committed to this organization and the job. It is a serious responsibility that we hold. Law and order is not a playing field. Remember, the greatest exercise of power is not to abuse that power.
Commenting on issues which have recently plagued the force, Inspector Bailey said that the officers must work to rid the organization of these complaints and come together to create a better policing environment. He further reiterated that the Welfare Association will be pushing for the elimination of these issues.
The association enjoys a cordial relationship with the Commissioner of Police and the leadership of the organization. We have had our challenges. Some of our members have been arrested for offenses of wounding against civilians. The offense of theft, we see it's creeping up among our members in the organization. Just as a racket is of little use without its handle, so too is the police organization without the society. We must never see the society as our enemies, but rather as a partner in crime fighting.
Civil engineer and entrepreneur Dr. Jacqueline James Little credits a positive attitude to being successful. She was at the time speaking to the recent cohort of graduates of the University of the West Indies at their recognition ceremony at the Methodist Church Hall. Dr. Little says that it is essential to make oneself memorable by being optimistic.
Relationships matter. In a year before I finished my PhD, I was driving along US 1 in Miami, and I got a phone call. It was from a professor of mine in Connecticut. And after he went through the pleasantries of, oh, you know, we're doing well at the academy, we're looking for some professors, all this stuff. There's a group of you who went through here who we're considering. His next set of words are what mattered the most. He said, we all remember you. We all loved interacting with you. And because of this, more than the others, we'd like for you to come back and teach. It was my first offer, and people had never heard this number before being called, but they offered me $90,000 US to start a year. And that was unheard of to me at that time, and I was in heaven. But all of that separated me from the rest of my colleagues was relationship. Relationships matter.
A one-day workshop on production of quality coconut planting material will be held here tomorrow. The workshop is a collaborative effort of the Caribbean Agricultural Research and Development Institute, CARDI, and the Ministry of Agriculture. According to CARDI's representative to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Gregory Robin, the workshop is aimed at enhancing the competitiveness of small-scale coconut farmers by identifying market opportunities, creating synergies between national and regional programs, and improving access to advisory services for improved coconut production. While on island, the CARDI scientists will also be interacting with key stakeholders in the coconut industry for activities in mapping and characterization of local coconut plantations, strengthening producer and processing groups, and developing appropriate technological packages for intercropping vegetables and fruits and rearing cattle and small ruminants under coconut trees. The workshop, which will commence at 9 in the morning at the National Insurance Services Conference Room, will be facilitated by renowned CARDI scientists Compton Paul and Evans Ramkilawan.